at the top end and create accessibility at the bottom end. Burpees are a perfect example. Everybody, 7 minutes, it's probably outdated. Maybe it's an 8 or 9. Now you be careful because of rhabdo, but like quite frankly, you can create a competition and create accessibility at the same time by being simple like that. That workout, by the way, that is the first workout I ever did in the CrossFit gym. I walked in, did my baseline. They told me to come back Thursday. I came back and some guy had a clipboard in front of me and he's like, "You're going to get up and down for 7 minutes." And I was like, "Excuse me?"
And look at you now. You've made it this far.
Immediately. I got 100 burpees my first day in CrossFit. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Good.
Very nice.
Okay.
I might not be able to do that now, but I did it then.
Let's move into topic number 3. So over the years, we've seen athletes pack their bags, move to train in person at training camps, put families on hold to focus on training, and even some great extremes like Matt Frazier took, not using steak knives during the season to prevent risk of injury. Now, talking specifically about those games athletes and athletes at the very top level, what is that line between being able to have balance in their life and going all in to be at the top? Matt O'Keefe, we will let you start the final round.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with this. The answer is individualized, truly. We've seen Matt stretch it to every quarter, 1/8, 16th of a percent. Not to say that that's not the right approach to be all in, but I think there's so many examples, Ariel Lowens, Pat Vellner, that have real balance with other things going on in their lives that create their best. So the answer to this, the formula is you being at your best, you being able to peak at the right times of year, and you being able to train effectively. If it's alone or with people, every situation is individual. So all in's kind of hard to describe. I think a lot of people have chased Matt's story and said that that's the right way, and found out, even us as coaches, quickly that that's not the formula, because you have to treat these athletes for what they are, which are individuals. They are their own teams, each of them, even if you've got 10 of them on yours as a programming platform. It's literally per person, per individual.
3 points for O'Keefe. Chase, what's your thoughts on this one?
I'm going to go, there is no balance. If you want to be the best in the sport, there is no balance. Individual, be damned. You talk Jordan, Brady, Tiger, there was no balance to become the greatest athlete in their sport. If you just want to be good and you want to be around, you can have balance in your life. You can be some of the top to ever do it in a generation, but if you want to be a generational great, that is the sacrifice you have to make to be a legend. There will be no one greater in the sport of basketball than Michael Jordan, because he gave everything he had to the sport. Now, there is a downside to that. When there is no balance, there is a fall off somewhere. But that's what you saw. And Matt did the same thing. He had a great support system around him, but there was nothing more he focused on was to be the best in the sport, to try to be a legend in the CrossFit game. So if you want to be good, you want to be around for 10 years, you can have balance. You can find that. But if you want to be the greatest, if you want to be the best, there is no room for balance.
5 points for Chase.
By the way, that Jordan and who did you say? Jordan,
Brady,
Tiger. Tiger and Jordan are bad examples. They had some very awkward balance, which was
yes,
was detrimental.
That wasn't balance, right? It was like they did everything here and everything else was on the weight side. I think they're perfect examples of what I was talking about. Right?
Jordan's drinking a 12-pack of beer and playing 36 holes and it's going for 40 at that night. There's some. Yeah, I get your point though.
Yeah.
Kotler?
No, do you want to go into that one?
So I think for the majority of my life, I have felt exactly the way that Chase feels. I felt like there was just you couldn't have balance. It had to be this obsession. And I think we've seen that with the majority of, the best of all times in their sport, including our sport. I think that probably not a lot of balance when you look at Rich when he was younger and Matt and Tia. But I will say this, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not going to give me all the points to win this thing, but I will say just from personal experience that I now coach an athlete that has shown me that possibly that might not be the case. I've never seen an athlete progress in the way that Alex Gazan has progressed. I think she will win the CrossFit Games, and I think she will win it multiple years. She's doing things that I've never seen anybody do, and progressing in ways that I've never seen anyone progress. And I've been coaching this a very long time. And she has an unbelievable amount of balance. Now, whether or not she'll be the best of all time, I can't say that. I mean, she's 22 years old. A lot can happen, obviously. I do think she'll have an incredible legacy in the sport. And I have been immensely impressed by the amount of balance that she has in her life and what she is what she has accomplished and what I think she will accomplish. It's not to say she doesn't put in the work, because she works her ass off, but she just has more balance than anyone I've ever seen at this level that I think can get to the next level. So I'm curious. It's almost like an experiment in the works, like that I'm witnessing on a personal level, because I never thought you could have the type of balance that she has and make the type of improvements that she's making. And maybe it's just because she's such a genetic freak that she can just get away with it where most people can't. And I think that's partly true as well. But I'm almost saying that I'm kind of continuing to learn in that respect. And I'm not sure that I ever would have thought that had been the case. I think that prior to Alex, I was 100% in the chase camp. And now I'm not as sure, because I'm witnessing something a little bit different than I've ever seen before.
Before I give you points, and I'm curious, this is for everybody, but is there somewhat of a shift in our sport where more athletes are having balance, that not one athlete necessarily needs to be, I don't want to say not all in, but everybody can kind of have balance, if that makes sense?
I don't know. I think people are learning as camps. Justin is talking about his evolution as a coach. I think we're all kind of learning about the traps that exist, with, what we've experienced in the past. But no, these guys are pretty dedicated, all in. Balance is not at a premium. It's, very low on the totem pole with most of them. I think just a lot of them are becoming more self-aware that, like, they can handle volume or not. Like, there's certain things they got to spend more time on. There's not one way to train an individual athlete for the CrossFit Games. You have to be, Justin speaking to it, is like, if he tried to train Alex, to be the greatest of all time from his perspective and take an all-in approach, he'd probably be less effective at the CrossFit Games. You've got to start to understand your people more and speak to them the way that they need to be spoken to. We learned a ton about that this year. Training people one way is not the answer.
To the best of any of your knowledge, is anybody training to the extremes that Matt was when he was in the CrossFit Games?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are, but it's got to be the perfect storm, though. Just because you train the way Matt trained doesn't mean you're going to end up like Matt Frazier. You're talking about someone who was genetically perfect for the sport, had a background in super high level weightlifting. So he had certain characteristics that most people don't have. Both his parents were Olympic figure skaters, and he grew up doing all these weird things that he was capable of doing. He was telling me when I visited